Hello everybody, welcome back to the fourth video in our series of watercolor painting activities. Now for this fourth video, today we are going to paint this really pretty but really simple series of geometric shapes. And this will be very nice because we're going to fill up the entire piece of our paper and make a really nice looking drawing and painting. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. Alright, so let's get started. This painting is very nice. It's very simple, it's easy, and it looks really pretty. It's just going to be simple geometric shapes and almost a mosaic kind of look throughout the entire paper. And what I like about this is you can have it either vertically or horizontally depending on what you would prefer. You can have it either way. So before we get started, I do really quickly recommend that you get some kind of background, like the few videos before, activities before. Have either a paper towel or some newspapers, just anything to protect the surface that you're painting on, because like shown in the example right here, we're going to be going all the way to the edge. We're going to try and cover every bit of this white paper with some really pretty paint. So let's go ahead and let's do that. So for this one, we're going to be mostly using our big brush. So as before, we have a small one and then we have a bigger one. Pretty much for this whole painting, we're going to be using this bigger one right here. So let's go ahead and let's pick the first color we're going to use. I'm going to go ahead and use red as my first color. You can go ahead and choose whatever color you would like. You can choose yellow, you can choose purple, you can choose green. Whatever color you would like, you can use as your first color. Nice thing is we're using all kinds of different colors, so we'll be using the majority of this palette right here in this painting, in this paper. And it'll look really, really nice. So I'm gonna go ahead, as before, dip my paintbrush in the water and then go ahead get the paint in the red palette. And then I'm gonna go ahead with the red paint on my paintbrush and go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is outline my first shape. And you can choose any shape you would like and you can place it anywhere you would like. For the very first one, I'm going to go ahead and make kind of a square or rectangle shape in the top left corner. And again, you can choose any color you like. You can go ahead and use blue, for example. You can do a different shape. You can do like a triangle instead of the square. You can place it on any different part of the paper. Just keep in mind, we are going to paint another red shape somewhere else on the paper once we're done with this one. So let's go ahead, and now that we have our outline like this, the outline does not have to be perfect. It's totally fine. But now that we have our outline, we're going to go ahead and we are going to go ahead and use as much paint that's already on this paper as we can. The nice thing about watercolors is that you can go ahead and really spread out the paint that's on your paper. So for example, I have this outline right here. I can go ahead, dip my paintbrush into the water and then go ahead and start painting from that outside edge inwards. And as you can see, it will start to take the color from the outside border that I've already drew, and it will start to fill in the rest of the square, which is very nice. That way you can conserve some of the paint that's in your in your tray. If you would like to, you can go ahead and just keep getting paint straight from the palette and then coloring in. You can do that if you'd like, but this is a very nice trick right here, is to really use the color in your the water in your watercolors. And that way, like I said, you can go ahead and conserve some of the paint here because you do have a limited amount. And also it still looks very nice. And if you allow it to dry long enough, you will see a little bit of some watercolor features starting to form on the outside. So there's a couple of reasons to really use that water. So now that we have our first shape, we're going to go ahead and draw another red shape. Now, for this paper, for this example right here, I did 2 shapes of each color. And you can customize this as much as you would like. That is the very nice thing about this right here. It's simple enough where you can totally customize it. And you can make it look however you like, and it would still look great. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna go ahead, dip that paintbrush back into the water. I'm gonna go ahead and get that red paint from the palette. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'll just paint another shape down here. I'm gonna go ahead and do another square. And you can do, like I said before, any shape you would like. It is completely up to you. And you do not have to copy everything that I do exactly. And as you can see, I think I would want my square just to be a little bit bigger. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna grab some more red paint and I'm just going to kind of extend it out more. And it will look totally fine once we fill it in with that water. It'll just look like one nice square. So now that we have our second outline, I'm gonna go ahead and get the water and then start spreading out the red paint from the outside border to fill in my white inside. That way I can use as much paint as I can in our area, and I can use the paint that I saved from here and use it for some other painting later on. So just like that. Now we have our 2 shapes. And what I'm going to do is the same thing as I said before in this example, is use 2 shapes of the same color. So as you can see, I have 2 red shapes. Then, for example, I have 2 blue shapes, and then so on and so forth. I'm going to do the same thing. So now that I have 2 red shapes, mine are squares, yours can be triangles or rectangles, whatever you would like. But now that I have these 2, I'm going to go ahead and probably not use any more red pigment from the palette, because I would like to use as much color as I can and make this as nice and pretty as I can. So now I get to choose my second color, and I think I'm going to go with green. Again, you can use any color you would like. You can go ahead and start using purple. You can use a blue. You can use a pink, a yellow, an orange. The choice is completely yours. Whatever colors you do, whatever shapes you decide to do, it will look great. So now that I have some green pigment, now that I have dipped my brush into the water and gotten out the green coloring from the palette, I'm gonna go ahead, take this green coloring from my brush, and I'm gonna start drawing my next shapes. And for this one, I'm gonna go ahead and start building right off of my first red square. As you can see here, this is going to be a little bit more of a different shape. And it's going to be bigger. You do not have to make all of your shapes the same size. It can be all kinds of different sizes. So for example, my next green shape, which is not really a square, it's more of just a random, almost diamond-like shape. I'm going ahead and I'm making it quite big compared to my red ones. So as I said before, I'm going to go ahead and really use the outside paint. Now, because this is a big shape, all of the paint might not spread as well, might just not make it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just add in a little bit more just right in the middle, because right after I do this, I'm just making some easy strokes the same color. I'm going to go ahead, get the water, and then I'm now going to spread that coloring throughout the open white space that's inside of this green shape. Just like I did with the red ones, I'm going to use as much green as I can and conserve my green coloring on my palette right here. So let's go ahead and let's do that. And just like that, just by not using as much coloring and using more water, I have filled in my entire shape with the color green. So now that I have done that, I'm gonna go ahead and paint my second green shape. So I'm gonna go ahead, grab the green, and this time I think I'm going to paint a triangle. It's a little bit different. I've been painting kind of some squares or four-sided shapes. I'm gonna go ahead and paint a triangle now, just like that. So again, this is a little bit bigger than the red ones, for example. So in order to fill in all of this green, or I'll fill in all this white space with green, I'm gonna go ahead, add in a few more strokes, and then grab some water and go ahead and start filling in all of this empty white space with a beautiful green coloring. So as you can see, while we are starting to have colors build off of other colors, see how this green triangle is connected to this red square, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I'm filling in that white space right in between them. It makes it look very nice and very sharp. It makes the overall painting look very, very good. So now I have two colors, which is great. We are well on our way. And I'm gonna go ahead and choose my third color. So let's go ahead and let's choose, let's say purple. I'm gonna go with purple this time. You go ahead and choose whatever color you would like to do next. The choice is yours. So it might be a little bit more difficult to see, but this right here is my purple coloring. I'm gonna go ahead, get the water, and really get the paint out of this palette. So now I'm gonna go ahead and start painting off the same red squares I did the very first time and start painting my shape. Alright, let's go down here and let's make it like that. Again, it's not an exact shape, it's just kind of you know, a four-sided geometric figure. And right there, I can go ahead and end my first outline for my third color. And just like my red squares and green shapes, I'm going to go ahead, get the water, and start spreading out the nice, beautiful purple pigment from the outline. And now, as you can see, it's very, very light. I'm going to go ahead and start just filling that in. All right, there we go. So that's our first purple shape. As you can see, it's not completely dark purple. It's more darker on the edges and a little bit lighter on the inside. And that's totally fine. Yours might look like that too. I actually personally think that gives it a really nice touch. I think it looks really nice like that. So now I'm gonna go ahead and draw my second purple shape. So I'm gonna go ahead, grab this purple, and I'm gonna go ahead and go right off the green. And I'm gonna go ahead and make this one very, very big. Even bigger than the green ones I had done before. Let's go ahead. I can go ahead and take some of the paint down here and spread it out to the border out here. And I can go ahead, I see some white spaces that aren't filled in between the purple and the green. I could just go ahead and fill that in, make it look nice and sharp. So let's go ahead and continue making the outline for our second purple shape. Just like that. So now that I have my second purple outline, I'm gonna go ahead, since like the green ones, this is a bigger shape, I'm gonna go ahead and add in a few strokes just so that water that I'm about to grab right now can go ahead and start spreading out evenly and really getting that nice purple color all throughout the inside white space of this big, I guess it's a triangle kind of like shape. I'm gonna keep going, spread all this out. You can go ahead and use longer strokes like this. You can go ahead and use shorter ones. All you're doing is using the water to take the pigment and spread it out from the border into the middle of our shape. Just like that. So that looks very nice. As you can see, right here we have a little bit of color that's kind of going off, and that's totally fine. I can just go ahead and make sure that's just added on to our purple shape, just like that. So we have 3 colors now, and let's see. We get to choose our next color. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a dark blue now. On the example right here, I used both a dark blue right here and a light blue. So I'm going to do the same for this activity that I'm showing you right now. But of course, you can choose all the different colors you would like. You can do 2 different color greens. You can do a red and a pink. It's totally up to you. Right now, I'm gonna go ahead and continue on with my blue color shapes. Go ahead, dip that in the water, get that pigment right here. Again, it's a little bit harder to see, but this one right here is my blue one. My dark blue one, I should say. And now that I have some blue coloring on my paintbrush, I'm gonna go ahead and start painting in this shape. I'm gonna go ahead and follow the outside of the green one just a little bit. Make a nice outline just like that. It does not have to be a specific pattern. It can be kind of random. It can be a pattern. You can make it just anywhere you like. It doesn't matter. It'll look fantastic. So I have my outline. Go ahead, rinse and repeat. Get that water. Start taking the color from the borders and filling in the inside white with this glorious blue. Here we go. That's a very, very nice blue. So now we have our blue shape. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start doing the second one. And I'm going to go ahead and make this one kind of like a long rectangle. I'm going to make this one nice and long. And I'm going to go ahead and make it fit right alongside that pretty green. As you can see, this one is not very big. It's just a nice thin rectangle. It's actually a little bit too thin for my liking, so I'm going to go ahead and make it just a little bit thicker. Just like that, and then we have our outline. Now, I'm gonna grab the water and start filling in our empty white space in the middle of our blue rectangle. Just like that. So that's very nice. Our page is starting to get filled up, and it's looking very good. So, I'm gonna go ahead and choose my next one. For this one, I'm gonna go ahead and get started with my orange. So let's go ahead. I'm actually going to clean off my brush just a little bit with the paper. Like that. And I'm gonna go ahead and start getting that nice vibrant orange pigment out of the palette right here. And once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and start drawing in my next shape. And I'm going to go ahead and do this right next to the purple one and make it come down to about there. I'm going to go ahead and make this one a triangle. No particular reason. Again, you can do any kinds of shapes you would want. This is just simply a guidance. So there's my outline. Go ahead, start filling it in with just the water. And there we go. That orange looks very nice. So, alright, that's our first orange shape. Let's go ahead and do the second one. And I'm going to go ahead and fill this space. So this orange shape is going to probably end up looking like this blue one right here. It's going to be long, it's going to be thinner, and I'm just doing that to kind of fill in our empty space right here. That's not too big to allow for a nice square, or a nice even square, but not too small where we can't put in a nice shape just like that. So that's a really nice and long kind of shape right there. So let's go ahead, now that I have my outline, and start filling it in. I may need to add in a little bit more coloring from the palette, because this is a longer shape, but it seems like it's doing pretty good. It seems like it's doing well. And yeah, all right. So that looks very, very nice. I didn't need to go ahead and go back and get some more. That's how far the water can go ahead and take your coloring. It can stretch along much. It can take your color and make it go across a much larger distance than you would think it would at first. And that's the beauty of watercolors. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my, let's see, what color are we on now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're on our 6th color. So let's choose number 6. Any color you would like. This time around, I'm gonna go ahead and do some yellow. Let's go ahead, get that water, dip it in, grab some nice yellow paint. And then go ahead and start drawing our shapes. So up here, I'm gonna go ahead and start off with a nice 4-sided shape. Just on the nice, just to fit on the top right corner. Just like so. And as you can see, I have a little bit of white space in between, and that's okay. I can go ahead and just carefully color that in, and I'll make it look very, very nice. So since this isn't a particularly large part of the paper, but yellow is a very light color, and so I am gonna go ahead and add in some extra strokes of color from the palette, and then I'm gonna go ahead, dip it in the water, and start spreading it around. Alright, there's our first yellow shape. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and put some yellow right here. Now, as you can see, this isn't a perfect looking shape configuration. The yellow I'm gonna add in here isn't gonna be a perfect triangle. It's not gonna be a perfect square. It's gonna be far from any particular perfect shape, and that is totally fine. It will still work out and it will still look fantastic. So I'm gonna do the same thing, get that yellow, and I'm gonna start filling in this kind of area right here. And you'll see that you may need to do that the more colors you start taking up your paper. And that is just simply because you are beginning to run out of room and you are beginning to fill up your paper with these beautiful colors. And so you will have to improvise and make some stranger shapes, but it is totally fine and it will work out. So I'm gonna go ahead and change that. I'm gonna make that go all the way down here. And there we go. That's our really weird looking shape, but it's totally fine. If you have something that looks like this, it's perfectly fine, and I am sure it looks fantastic. So let's go ahead, use that water, fill that in, and we have our last yellow shape just like that. So as you can see, we are almost done. We only have one more color to do. And if you would like, you can go ahead and choose a lot more different colors. You can go ahead and make smaller shapes and use maybe 5 red shapes. It's all up to you. The possibilities, the designs you can make are endless. And that's what's so nice about a painting like this, is it's totally customizable. No matter what you do, it will look great. It will do totally fine. So that being said, let's choose our last color. And for me, my last color is gonna go ahead and be a light blue. I already used a dark blue, I'm gonna go ahead and use a light blue. I'm gonna go ahead and clean off my brush just a little bit. And then go ahead, dip that in the water. Start taking out the blue pigment from the palette. Just like so. And now I get to go ahead and start filling in the last two shapes that I have empty on my paper. We are almost done. And this is looking very, very nice. So let's go ahead, grab some more color like that. And I have my outline. Same thing as all the other ones. Go ahead, grab some water and start filling in that empty space with that pretty light blue color. And similar to the yellow, the light blue is a very light color, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab just a little bit more paint from the palette right here, just so I can get a nice even coloring throughout that empty space that I made in between that shape. And just like that, I have only one more shape to do. As you can see, this one is also going to be a little bit more of a weird shape, but that's totally fine. Gives it personality. So I'm gonna go ahead and start painting in the outline for my very last shape. And there we go. So I'm gonna go ahead, add a few more strokes in between. And I'm gonna dip in my paintbrush for the last time and start filling in that nice color. And just like that, we have finished all of the major colors and squares and shapes on this paper. The only thing we have to do left is look closely and start filling in the color for some empty spaces right here. So as you can see, I have some small white gaps in between my shapes, and there is no problem with that. I can go ahead, take the same brush that I've been using. As you can see, this gap is kind of where the green is, so I'm gonna go ahead, get that green coloring, and just carefully fill that right in. I'm gonna do it right here, sharpen up the borders, just like that. And then my other, you can see, is kind of the purple area, so I'm gonna go ahead, get that purple coloring I used earlier, and carefully fill in that white shape, just like that. And just like that, we have finished our painting. Alright everybody, that is going to be it for this video. I thank you guys so much for taking your time and checking out these activities. If you guys would like to see more, go ahead and go on the channel and watch the rest of this series. So I thank you guys so much, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.